So, you speak about the importance of spiritual guides and angels in our lives. For someone who doesn't have a strong spiritual practice, I want to relate a personal story for them. I remember it was around 2017, and over a course of a week, I had two very traumatic incidents happen to me. I was held up at home at gunpoint by a burglar, and 3 or 4 days later, my best friend jumped off a bridge and committed suicide. And I remember before this, I had really been struggling with some life decisions and this calling that I had been having, I think, from my higher source for a long time, and I kept resisting it. And my life was thrown into turmoil at this point, and it unearthed a lot of trauma that I experienced earlier in my life. And I decided, as one of the paths to healing, to start to do Reiki. And I remember the healer was in our session, and you keep your eyes closed, and I could feel her presence towards my head, and I happened to open my eyes, and she was on the whole other side of the world of the room. And
Mm.
I was wondering what is going on, and why am I feeling this presence so strongly around the upper portion of my body? And I remember after the session, she was telling me how difficult it was for her to do the practice on me because I had two spirit guides who were doing everything in their power to block her because they were trying to protect me. And I was hoping maybe you, from that scenario, could maybe discuss what's going on and things like that, and how do we begin to recognize and connect with these guides who are there in our lives that for some of us we just can't see.
So I'm a Reiki master, and I've never had an experience where spirit guides were stopping me from helping someone move the energy through them. However, I have had experiences where people break. They break down because they are feeling and moving. The energy is moving. And maybe your guides were trying to stop that from happening because you had been through such trauma. So they were taking it easy on you, like, slow down. Let's not move too much of this energy because it will overwhelm him. You were already in a state of flux of being overwhelmed. So that probably is what was happening, in my professional opinion. Guides are just having a conversation with us. And why the reason that we don't recognize it, well, if we recognized it all day, we wouldn't be talking to humans, we'd be talking to them, right? Because they're in the afterlife and they're going to give us all the answers, we think. So it's important that we don't recognize it all the time, but they will get in our way and they will try to support us. The goal is to talk to them. So, as silly as it may sound, getting up in the morning and saying, "Hey, today, would you just come along with me? I'm scared. I have to go do a job interview and I don't know if I'm going to succeed, or I'm having a podcast and I want to make sure I make the right impact. Come help me." And I do that every day. I make sure I take a moment to take a breath and say, "Spend the day with me. Usurp for my greatest good, my free will, if you can, because I know I'm going to get in my own way." And they're there to help us. So the goal isn't to necessarily recognize them at every moment, but to trust. So I call it the three A's, is an awareness, acceptance, and action. So sometimes we'll go into a room or we'll have something happen and we're aware that something's changed in the room. It could be a loved one, which you would know the difference because it would be familiarity. You'd feel the familiar love. It could be a guide who will boss you around a little bit, tell you what the heck are you thinking? Or it could be an angel, which is pure love. And that was what I felt when I was on my knees. So as you're in that place of awareness, they become aware that you're aware. So when you say to your guides, "I want you to come with me," they're aware now that you're aware that it's a possibility. So here they come. And then you go to acceptance. I'm going to accept. I'm just going to accept it, that they could be there. And they go, "Oh, they're accepting that. I'm going to come in even stronger and I'm going to spend the day with them because they're going to let me. They're going to let me share their day." And then it's action. And the only action you have to do is trust, which is the hardest part. And when you can come to a place of trust, they go, "She's trusting I'm there. She's going to allow me to help her move through her day. So now I could be of service." Just like any human being, we have to have the awareness that somebody that loves us wants to help us. We have to accept their help. And then we have to trust that their help is good and means well. It's the same thing with the guides. I tell my clients it's just a conversation. So if you talk to them, they're going to respond in some form, and you'll go, wow, how did that happen today? That turned out really well. I didn't expect that. Well, I'm pretty certain your guides were a part of that.